What if I told you that the moment you stop caring is the moment he starts chasing? It sounds backwards, right? We're taught to love hard, give our all, prove we're worth it. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Chasing love actually pushes it away. The more you try to hold on, the faster it slips through your fingers. And when you finally stop, when you let go, not out of bitterness, but from strength, that's when everything changes. In today's video, we're not talking about games or manipulation. We're talking about psychology. Real, deep-rooted human behavior that explains why your emotional distance suddenly makes him see your value. Because here's what's happening beneath the surface. When you chase, you signal lack. When you detach, you signal power. And power is magnetic. So if you're done feeling ignored, tired of being too available, or questioning your worth because someone else doesn't see it, you're in the right place. This video is going to show you why walking away isn't giving up. It's stepping into your highest self. We're unpacking the exact mindset that flips the script, that makes him think, wait, what happened? Why isn't she trying anymore? And from that moment, he's the one chasing you. Let go, not to get him back, but to get yourself back. Grab a journal, turn off distractions, and watch to the end. Because once you understand this shift, you won't chase love ever again. Emotional detachment is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful tools in relationships. It doesn't mean you stop feeling. It doesn't mean you become cold or heartless. What it truly means is that you no longer depend on someone else's behavior to determine your worth, your peace, or your happiness. It's the art of caring without clinging, of loving from a place of fullness, not desperation. Most people confuse attachment with love, but attachment is rooted in fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, fear of not being good enough. And when you're operating from fear, your energy changes. You start overthinking every message, replaying every interaction, and constantly trying to fix things that aren't even yours to fix. That energy is heavy. It pushes people away because it screams, I need you to validate me. And the truth is, nobody wants to feel like they're someone's lifeline. Emotional detachment flips the dynamic. Instead of I need you, it becomes I choose me. And ironically, that's when people start feeling drawn to you. Because your energy becomes light, free, and magnetic. You're no longer trying to control the outcome. You're simply rooted in your own worth. And that's attractive on a level words can't explain. Think about it. When someone pulls away and you chase, you reinforce the imbalance. But when they pull away and you remain calm, focused on your own life, not shaken, it shifts everything. That calmness isn't indifference, it's strength. And that strength makes people question how they ever took you for granted in the first place. Detachment gives you back your power. You no longer break down because someone didn't text you back. You don't beg for closure or over-explain yourself. You realize that if something or someone isn't aligned with your peace, it's okay to let it go. Detachment allows you to observe, not absorb, to respond, not react. And that's when you truly become emotionally unshakable. What's even more powerful is that emotional detachment doesn't only change your relationships with others. It transforms your relationship with yourself. You stop seeking constant reassurance. You stop trying to prove you're worthy. You stop making someone else's presence the source of your happiness. Instead, you become the safe space. You become the peace you used to beg others to give you. And here's the irony. When you reach this space, when you no longer feel the need to chase, explain, or force anything, that's when people start chasing you. Because your energy no longer says, pick me. It says, I've already picked myself. And in a world where most people are operating from lack, that energy is unforgettable. So emotional detachment isn't about giving up on love. It's about refusing to abandon yourself for it. It's the calm confidence that says, I know my worth and I'll never settle for anything that asks me to forget it. That's not cold. That's powerful. It's one of the most frustrating experiences. You show up, you give your heart, you care deeply, and instead of feeling more connected, he starts pulling away. It feels confusing and even unfair. You're doing everything right. So why does it seem like the more you care, the more distant he becomes? The answer lies in a psychological pattern that most people don't even realize they're triggering. When you care too much, especially early on, you can accidentally create a dynamic that feels emotionally overwhelming. It's not your love or affection that's the problem, it's the imbalance of energy. When one person starts investing significantly more than the other, it creates pressure, not just external pressure, but internal tension. Because subconsciously, the person on the receiving end starts to feel like they've been handed a responsibility they didn't ask for. And rather than rise to meet your level of care, they retreat. Why? Because attraction thrives in space. It needs mystery, autonomy, and breathing room to grow. When you rush in with all your energy, always available, always giving, always texting first, it short-circuits the natural rhythm of connection without realizing it. Your care can start to feel like expectation, and expectation often makes people feel trapped, even if nothing is said outright. It's also about perceived value. When someone gets everything from you, your time, your energy, your emotional availability, without having to earn it, their mind begins to question the value, not because you aren't valuable, but because humans are wired to appreciate what they work for. And when something comes too easily, it's often taken for granted, no matter how good or genuine it is. That's why people say, play hard to get, but it's not really about playing. It's about maintaining your own center, your own life, and your own sense of self, no matter who you're dating. When you make someone your emotional priority before they've made you theirs, it creates an imbalance that the other person can feel, even if they can't articulate it. It's like walking into a room and sensing that someone needs you to validate them, rather than simply enjoying your presence. That energy feels heavy, and that heaviness is what makes them back off. It doesn't mean you should stop caring altogether. It means your care has to be aligned with reciprocity. It needs to be matched, not poured endlessly into a void. Your energy is precious, and it should never be given without awareness. When you love from a grounded place, when you care without losing yourself, you allow space for the other person to rise up and meet you. So if he pulls away when you care too much, don't take it as a sign that you should care less. Take it as a sign to care more about yourself. Redirect that energy inward. When you do, not only do you stop the cycle of overgiving, but you also create a space where healthy attraction can breathe, grow, and flow naturally without fear, pressure, or imbalance. There's a reason why someone seems more interested the moment you stop giving them attention. It's not magic, it's psychology. The chase and the dynamic of distance tap into deep subconscious triggers in the human brain that most people aren't even aware of. And once you understand this, you'll stop blaming yourself and start seeing the patterns for what they truly are. Psychological responses, not personal failures. At the core of it, people are drawn to what feels slightly out of reach. When something is too available, it doesn't activate the same level of desire as something that requires effort. This goes all the way back to survival instincts. Our brains are wired to value things that seem scarce or uncertain. The moment something feels secured, our emotional urgency to obtain it decreases. That's why when you chase someone, they often pull back. Not because they don't like you, but because the chase changes their perception of value and control. The more energy you invest in trying to win someone over, the more the power dynamic shifts. And in that imbalance, the person being pursued subconsciously feels that they've already won you. You've become a certainty in their life, and certainty, as comforting as it may sound, often leads to complacency and romantic attraction. On the flip side, when someone senses that you're not fully accessible, when your attention is unpredictable, their brain enters a state of heightened curiosity and interest. It becomes a challenge. It becomes stimulating. This is the exact same mechanism that makes us compulsively check our phones when we get random notifications. We don't know what it's going to be, so the unpredictability spikes dopamine. That same chemical response is triggered when someone feels they don't fully have you yet. They start wondering where your attention is going. They analyze your silence. They begin to crave what they used to take for granted. That's the power of psychological distance. It ignites emotional urgency. But it's important to understand that chasing doesn't always mean physically running after someone. It's also the energetic chasing, over-texting, over-explaining, always initiating, always trying to prove your worth. These subtle forms of pursuit are felt deeply by the other person, even if nothing is said aloud. And the more they sense that emotional chase, the less likely they are to engage with genuine desire. Real attraction is built in the space between connection and independence. When you hold your ground, when you're not afraid to lean back, to create space, to allow someone to come toward you, it forces them to invest, and investment leads to attachment. That's why emotional detachment and mystery are not manipulation tools. They're boundaries. They protect your energy and allow someone to earn access to you rather than being handed all of you up front. So if you ever feel like you're chasing and they're pulling away, hit pause, reclaim your energy, because it's often in your absence, not your presence, that they finally realize what they're missing. Letting go is not about giving up. It's about regaining control. The moment you truly let go of someone or something, you are no longer bound by the emotional gravity that keeps you stuck in a cycle of neediness and insecurity. And when you break free from this cycle, everything changes. Suddenly you reverse the power dynamic, and it's no longer you chasing or trying to please. It's them trying to win you over. This shift happens because when you stop seeking validation and approval from someone, you stop giving off the desperate energy that usually pushes people away. You stop being afraid of rejection, and you stop needing constant reassurance to feel good about yourself. Instead, you become centered in your own worth. This isn't about playing games or trying to get someone to chase you out of ego. It's about stepping into your own power and letting the relationship unfold naturally without forcing or rushing anything. When you let go, you stop overanalyzing every text, every word, every interaction. You stop obsessing over why he's not calling or why he hasn't responded right away. Instead of living in a state of uncertainty, you allow space for things to develop on their own terms. And that space, ironically, is exactly what sparks attraction. It triggers a shift in perception that makes him realize he might be losing you, and that fear of loss creates a sense of urgency to chase after you. What's happening here is simple. When you are emotionally available all the time, when you are always present and always easy to reach, it feels like there is no challenge, there's no mystery. But when you start to let go, whether by being emotionally unavailable or by focusing on your own life and growth, suddenly the chase is on. Now he's the one wondering where you went, why you're not as available as you used to be. And that uncertainty, that lack of access to you is what activates the emotional desire to chase. The key is detachment. It's not about being cruel or playing games. It's about releasing the need to control the situation. When you stop caring about the outcome, you start creating an environment where the relationship can evolve on its own. You've given up the need to force things into existence. And in doing so, you give the other person space to step up, to come toward you with genuine intention. This is when you see the dynamic shift from you trying to make things work to him trying to make things work with you. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, pause and take a step back. By letting go, you allow yourself to stop playing the game entirely, which is exactly when the game changes in your favor. It's not about giving up on love. It's about trusting that when you let go of the need for it, the universe will bring it back to you in a way that's far more fulfilling and genuine. Sometimes it's the small shifts that create the biggest impact. When you're stuck in a place where you feel unnoticed or undervalued, it's easy to think that the solution lies in doing more, trying harder, being more available, or constantly putting others' needs above your own. But the truth is, the moment you make subtle, strategic shifts within yourself, you will find that people, especially him, start to notice you again. These shifts aren't about playing tricks or manipulating anyone. They're about aligning with your best self and reclaiming your personal power. The first shift is one of self-respect. Often the reason we feel overlooked is because we aren't valuing ourselves as we should. When you start respecting your own time, energy, and emotional availability, others pick up on that. You no longer tolerate poor behavior or unbalanced relationships. And because respect is magnetic, people, including him, are drawn to it. They recognize that you are no longer the person who will accept less than they deserve. And when they see that you're no longer willing to overgive or be taken for granted, they begin to view you in a new light. The next subtle shift is in your emotional independence. When you let go of the need for constant validation or attention from someone, it frees you. This doesn't mean you stop caring. or that you don't value the relationship. It simply means that you are no longer emotionally reliant on it to feel whole. People are drawn to those who are emotionally self-sufficient because it signals that you have a deep sense of worth that doesn't depend on anyone else's actions or approval. By shifting your focus from seeking reassurance to knowing your own worth, you automatically become more intriguing and less predictable, which is key to reigniting his interest. Another powerful shift comes in the form of creating space and mystery. When you stop making yourself constantly available, you create a healthy distance that allows him to feel the absence of your presence. This absence is incredibly powerful. It gives him the chance to miss you, to wonder where you are, and to reflect on your value in his life. Subtly pulling back, not to punish him, but to realign your energy, gives the relationship the space to breathe and grow. It's in this space that he begins to realize how much you truly bring to the table. And this realization often leads him to take the steps necessary to win you back. Another subtle shift that makes a significant difference is in your body language and energy. When you stop chasing, your energy shifts from being eager and uncertain to being grounded and self-assured. It's almost as if you're saying, I'm fine on my own, but if you want to be part of my life, you'll have to earn it. This shift in your demeanor sends a clear message. You are not desperate for his attention, but you are open to it if he is willing to meet you at your level. People notice this shift because it exudes confidence without arrogance, strength without rigidity, and it's incredibly magnetic. Lastly, one of the most effective, subtle shifts is in how you prioritize your life and passions. When you are busy living your own life, focusing on your passions, career, friends, and personal growth, you become less fixated on him. This not only makes you more interesting, but it also naturally elevates your value in his eyes. As you continue to thrive and evolve, it sparks curiosity and attraction. He sees that you have your own full life, and that makes you more desirable. These subtle shifts don't require dramatic actions or declarations. They require a quiet, internal commitment to value yourself more and make your life a priority. Once you do that, you will find that the world around you, especially him, starts to notice you in ways they never did before. Knowing when to let go and walk away for good is one of the most empowering and difficult decisions you'll ever make. It's a point in the relationship where your mind and heart must align, and you finally realize that holding on isn't serving you or the relationship anymore. It's not about giving up. It's about knowing when you've done enough, when the emotional investment no longer feels healthy, and when your personal peace and self-worth are at stake. The first moment to recognize is when you're no longer growing together. Relationships should be about evolution, both individually and as a partnership. But when one person stops growing, or worse, actively pulls you down, it's time to reevaluate. If you find that you've outgrown the relationship and it's preventing you from reaching your fullest potential, staying stuck can do more harm than good. This can manifest in many ways, whether it's the emotional drain from constant arguments, the lack of support in your personal goals, or feeling like you're always compromising while your partner remains stagnant. If growth and progression have become one-sided, it may be time to walk away. Another crucial moment to recognize is when respect is no longer mutual. Respect isn't just about treating someone kindly. It's about valuing their boundaries, their feelings, and their needs. If you feel that your partner repeatedly disrespects you, whether through actions, words, or neglect, then you're in a toxic situation. You don't deserve to continuously fight for respect. If the relationship has become a space where your emotional needs are disregarded or minimized, it's time to make the painful but necessary choice to leave. Walking away in these situations isn't an act of weakness. It's a firm decision to prioritize your well-being over someone else's disregard. One of the hardest realizations comes when you see that the effort isn't reciprocal. Relationships are built on mutual effort. Both partners need to put in energy, time, and care. But if you're the only one constantly giving, texting, planning dates, offering support, or making sacrifices without receiving the same in return, it's not a partnership. It's a one-sided situation. If you're the one always reaching out, always compromising, always making things work, and your partner isn't doing the same, the imbalance will only continue to drain you. When you realize that you're carrying the weight of the relationship alone, it's time to consider letting go. True love doesn't feel like a burden.